going to start off today discussing cockwombles because they are a thing and there are a lot of them about and we need to recognise them instantly. Here's one. There's a cockwomble. Which comedian told our great leader to do this photo shoot and sit like Christine Keeler? Must be a thing, sitting backwards on a chair and messing about with Russia. For those of you who can't remember who Christine Keeler was, she was the bit of skirt that was involved in the Profumo affair years ago, nearly brought the government down, all to do with Russia and the Cold War and goodness knows what. He sat there doing the same pose. I don't know about you, but to me, I'm going to show him, I just love it. I'm going to show you him again. Can you see him? Do you know what he looks like to me? Do you ever see that film Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Michael Caine and Steve Martin? Root Wreck. When he used to pretend to be that brother that were backward, with patch on iron, cork on forks, and he didn't damage himself, hitting himself in the eye with his fork. Not mother. Do you remember Root Wreck swinging on a tyre? He just looks like him to me. Cockwombles, we've had our fair share, haven't we? We really have had too many. I mean, America's had a few. Some of them are running country. But we've had people like Keith Vaz posing as a washing machine salesman trying to get Class A drugs in a sting by a newspaper. When he was, I think he was on a justice committee one day. He wasn't fit enough, apparently he was poorly. He didn't have the mental capacity to give evidence in his own trial, but he was sitting on a justice committee at the same time. Then you've got Matt Hancock, who was needing Gina, whatever she's called, his girlfriend, his new girlfriend, his bit of skirt that he brought in as a government advisor during lockdown. He was needing her backside one day, like something out of Warburton's bakery, ploughing, what do you call that? With her backside, simultaneously not allowing people from different tier systems to get married. So this couple that I know, she was from Lancashire, he's from Yorkshire. They couldn't get married. They had their wedding cancelled twice because of the tier systems. And during this period, Matt Hancock is deep-throating his non-living partner. It was with his wife and kids at the time. And he brought her in as a government advisor. Not to mention spending £52,000 on takeaway meals from something like Bongo Bongo. I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but it was a really expensive, like Taiwanese restaurant in London. You know, for the Whitehall staff, because they were burning the midnight oil, thinking of ways to keep us locked down unnecessarily for no good reason at all, based on guesswork science. Modelling, that's scientific speak for guesswork. Yeah, we'll pump this out. Most of modelling they got wrong anyway. You see, this is the trouble. We are run by cockwombles, and people like Keir Starmer are particularly dangerous because they're weak men, I think, and they portray themselves as strong, but they're not. It's only the facade around them. You know, getting off a plane on a red carpet. Why should he have a red carpet? Going over to Biden, cap in hand, seeing if he can get permission to allow these missiles to be launched on Russia. You couldn't make it up. Even the Biden administration, I mean, all right, I can't believe it's actual Biden because he's reading from a cue card. He's got it written down in front of him. But anyway, got the bum's rush from Joe Biden, according to Andrew Neil, who's blocked me, by the way. Someone else had to send it to me. He's got turned around when he's been to America. I mean, why couldn't you have just asked him that over the phone? Why did they have to have this big powwow, sit down, air miles, all that, carbon footprint? We're supposed to be heading towards net zero, and that's the other thing I don't understand about war. We're supposed to be hell-bent on this net zero. It's so important to get from 1% to net zero. We've got to do it. And yet, missiles and bombs must have a carbon footprint the size of a Yeti. Someone did a comparison once, didn't they? That one Scud missile would run a family car, would be the family diesel car to run for like 25 years. It was something ridiculous. I can't remember what it was. Somebody will probably put it on the thread. But this is why we're run by cockwombles. And, you know, it should be the Cockwomble Party. Not just Labour, Tories as well. And the thing is, you've got all these people The great thing about Keir Starmer, first time I've witnessed it, he's had all these people defending Labour. Oh, it'll be better when Labour, I see him on Twitter, they always have in the bio, Tories out, it's all the Tories' fault. It certainly is, they've been in 14 years. I'm not even taking that away from them, it's their fault, yeah. But the Labour Party didn't do anything to stand up to them, did they? They didn't stop any lockdowns, they didn't stop that stupid mask rule, they didn't stop anything, they went along with all of it. And then when it's got to we're pushing us over a cliff, the Tories have backed away from the treacle and left him to do the sticky stuff. So, and he deserves to handle it too. But if it was so urgent and necessary, then why would you even contemplate a physical war where weapons with massive emission problems would be used? You wouldn't, would you? You just wouldn't. So it's all built on lies. It's all built on, right, tell the public one thing, but we're really doing it for another reason. And you've only got to look at what Robert Kennedy has told us about the way the world works. I mean, he's opened it all up, hasn't he? They have to sell the public the idea, because most of the public are pretty decent. They don't want war in anybody's country. And the other thing that the Americans are forgetting, that they're poking the bear now, but this is the first time in history that America's not ring-fenced. Normally all their conflicts are overseas, aren't they? They're always in someone else's backyard. But drone strikes, no, it doesn't have to be that way anymore. I mean, I'm not knocking them. The Americans haven't got over 9/11. And that's the only real bad thing they've had on their soil. Look at all the places they've gone into, like Iraq, like Afghanistan, like Libya, like different places where they've had a say in their politics. And do these places come out any better for it? We're going apparently to unseat dictators, unsavoury dictators. And yet the countries never seem any better off after we've left. It's just utter madness. And this is the first time in history that these governments haven't worked out, the politicians, the political class, the bubble, the journalists, haven't worked out that the public, whether they like it or not, have now got the facility with their mobile phones and the internet and social media to find out what they want to know just about on any topic and share it with their friends and family. And further afield, if you're a blogger. They haven't cottoned on to that. They haven't cottoned on that we're all having these chatterbox exchanges where people have podcasts and are discussing the things that the mainstream media shy away from. You can get your information. And this is why the mainstream is doing so abysmally. I mean, if it wasn't for the commercial side with places like ITV and Channel 4 making light entertainment and documentaries, that they couldn't make a living from the news channels because nobody's watching them anymore. Nobody cares. And the BBC, well, they're just appalling. You see, we believed in them until Jimmy Savile. That was the catalyst for me. If a big outfit like that had all those people working for it, and you only have to look at that interview with Piers Morgan and Johnny Rotten, when he said, I mean, he talks a bit like Frankie Howard sometimes, doesn't he, Johnny? I quite like him. I liked him in Jungle when he was at one with nature. When he turned around and said, Jimmy Savile, I could tell you tales. He obviously knew. I mean, that interview's a decade old at least. But he knew. So if he knew, did Esther Ranson know? Did Terry Wogan know? Did all these other high-profile BBCites know that what Jimmy Savile was a bent weirdo using his position to facilitate the ongoing, basically, abuse of kids, some of them disabled? It's unbelievable. So how can anybody, after that moment in time, trust the BBC again on anything to do with news? You can't. Jill Dando, highly suspicious that death. Somebody just randomly calls at her house and decides to bump her off. Yet she's just at the cusp of allegedly spilling the beans on a paedophile ring connected to the BBC and some really important people. So the world isn't run the way we thought, is it? The world is run completely differently. It seems like the bad people have the power base and the good people are just finding out that we don't have any good people. That's what I think is happening. And unfortunately, like I say, with the carbon footprint thing, if it was that urgent, if it was that necessary, why oh why would anybody allow any sort of war to fester and grow? You wouldn't, because you'd be too afraid of what the emissions would be doing to the world. Very strange times. We are living in really strange times. But again, we have to get through these times. That's why I like finding things like that picture of Keir Starmer. Who thought of that? And the other thing that I question is, why does he have to have a photo shoot? You're boring. For a start, you look boring. You talk boring. I can't stand to listen to you. You just have an annoying voice anyway. And your sidekick looks like, what's that? What's she called? Catherine Tate, when she does, but am I bothered though? I feel I'm going to see Angela Rayner sat in a cabinet meeting, and when somebody says something to her, she go, but am I bothered though? But am I bothered? That's a stand. And David Lammy busting out in his suits. I don't think they're going to get him on Strictly Come Dancing. Strictly Come Gasping. Can't get another breath in because he's having another donut. Oh, come on, these people. So, Cockwombles. This is the topic of the day, Cockwombles. And remember all that stick that President Trump got for talking about the cats being murdered and sacrificed and eaten even. And they ridiculed him. Kamala Harris did that laugh, that convenient laugh. That laugh to me. That's while she's listening to someone, it's got to be, giving instructions. So the New York Post now reports a day ago that the feds and the city, which is the council, is to crack down on animal sacrifices in New York City's Jamaica Bay after dog carcasses with snapped necks and wounded pigs were found. There's a full article on it, cats as well. So it was right, wasn't it? All these people have come in. New York has a problem, and unfortunately New York State has a problem. Kamala Harris denied it. Trump was on the money again. Just like with the Hunter Biden laptop, they all denied it, they all claimed it wasn't real. Then all of a sudden, there's evidence that it's actually very, very real. And that's another sign that we are run by absolute cockwombles. And when you think that, our great leader, Keir Starmer, went over to America to get the okay to use these certain missiles and got turned down, he came all the way back. Should have just rung them, shouldn't you? Save your carbon footprint. That's what it's supposed to be about, isn't it? Oh, but no, you see, the trouble is they love feeling important. They love it. It's a trip for them. It's a hard-on. They want to do it. They want to be on the world stage. They want to be getting off that plane with everybody shaking their hands, making them feel important. They feel important. They don't care what you say on Twitter. They don't care how much you insult them. They can't do. I'm insulting him every day. I'm on every thread. I've put that Kennedy video on, about 16 of his posts. Nobody said anything yet because they're not bothered about what you think. I know some people think they leave signs and they like to do these Masonic signs and let you know what they're doing. I don't think they do. I don't think they give a rat's what we think. They're not interested in us. They look at us like stock. A farmer isn't bothered what his sheep are thinking, is he? He's not bothered. He wants to make sure they've still got the same amount of sheep he bought. He wants to make sure that they're not ill enough to not produce any profit. They are just a commodity. We are a commodity. We are the product that creates the tax on the tax farm. And some people don't know when to shut up, do they? Grant Shapps, I mean, who was a big fan of his? Nobody. He's had more names than Fugitive, that boy. He's just been so weird, all these different names he used with his internet stuff. And in 2018, the Times ran a story about how he had to step away from some blockchain thing he was involved with because of some insider dealing. I don't know. Read it in the Times. It's 2018. And this man was the defence secretary, and he's egging us on to use these missiles. Sounds to me like he's keeping his place warm in the bunker because he won't get in now, will he? Because he's not a minister. He's not in government. He's not in anything. So why should we listen to you? You got booted out. The public didn't want you. So why are you clinging on? That's what they're like, you see, unfortunately. That's why it's called a swamp, because they never get rid of anybody. And you've only got to look at how they infiltrate our life. Jamie Jenkins, ex-Office of National Statistics, his brother is banned from running his local business effectively. His brother lives in Scotland and he can't take his public transport coach. Here it is. It's a nice looking thing. Yeah. He can't take that into the centre of Glasgow or Edinburgh anymore because of the emissions laws. How mad is that? So you've got people who are creating situations that crush us, crush our businesses, crush our lives. You know, animal charities in London are now closing because they can't go around picking up animals anymore because the van that they run is too old to meet the emission charges. So they can't afford the 12 quid every time they go through a certain section because of the way the charities are run. So that it affects that area too. It affects this man running his business. And yet we can send missiles off that have carbon footprints the size of a bloody volcano, basically. It just doesn't seem right, does it? And as I've said before, I'm always periodically put these posts up saying taxes and fines don't clean air. They just fills holes with government spending. You know, Sadiq Khan wrote to the transport minister at the time and said he was running out of money. I mean, TfL, Transport for London, owns massive chunks of land in central London. They own the bit on Park Lane where all the tents are parked up. That's getting worse by the day, by the way. How can they run out of money? And what did the transport minister, a Tory transport minister, tell him to do? Told him to extend the ULEZ zone. Extend the ULEZ zone to get more money in. That doesn't sound like any air's going to get any cleaner, does it? That doesn't sound like, you know, you clean your windows, you can see through them again. You give a result, don't you? I've cleaned my windows, now I can see through them. But this clean air tax, this is just clawing money in. This is nothing to do with the actual cleaning of air. And then in the same breath, they want all these old vehicles that don't meet the criteria. They want you to send them to Ukraine because people are struggling to get vehicles. Well, surely if emissions were so important, then those old vehicles shouldn't be going anywhere, should they? I mean, this is why nothing makes sense anymore. A young person who follows me, 23, I really like her. And she's trying to take notice of what's going on. And she's created a little group, actually. People like this are important because they're only young and they'll carry this argument forward. And she's created a little group. There's 200 of them. It's a Facebook group. It's closed, so you can't see it. It's just the 200 people she's managed to get together over a couple of months to discuss things like we discuss here. But she's young. The people in the group are young. She's opening people's eyes. That's good work. That's getting young people to talk about it, because it might just be talked about within the 200 people, but those 200 people all know other people. And if they go out and talk about it the way we talk about things, then this is how information gets around. And this is why the mainstream media are struggling, because the trust has broken down. A 23-year-old contacted me because she couldn't believe what she was seeing on TV. And she decided to get more involved. And she wasn't that type of girl. She's not politically active. She's a reasonable job. She goes to work every day. She lives at home with her parents, can't afford to get anywhere. And she's concerned about her future. And that's what we need. We need the younger end of what's going on to see that life's changing very quickly and we need to be more informed, and especially with the younger end. This is why I like Darren Grimes, because he is the younger end. And he's stalwart in his campaigning and the way he puts things out, especially on Facebook and Twitter. And Darren's been against it for quite a long time, hasn't he? When you think back to how these pro-European debates used to go. I mean, I've seen him when he was only a lad on these debates, and he'd be sat there with, say, Sky News, and there'd be Darren Grimes talking about Brexit, and then the host and two others talking about how we should stay in Europe. And as you can see with the state of Europe now, it's not fit to have anybody staying in it. Hungary don't want to be in. Czech Republic don't want to be in. Poland, now Tusk is the Prime Minister of Poland. He's changing his tune a bit. I mean, he's still a lefty, but he's trying to build the tourism business up. And he can't build the tourism business up on the back of high crime statistics. So the thing is, the information is out there. The Cockwombles that run the European Union, they're plain for all to see. They're in plain sight now. They've nowhere to hide, because even the people that wanted it are now seeing that, well, what's it all about? Why do you pay for one lot of government, your own government, and you know how much they cost, 650 of them, to not take any notice of you and get on and do what they want, and then have the cost of another parliament and another set of presidents and all the entourage that goes with that, the limousines, the parliament buildings, 260 million to decorate a room in the EU building. What could that money have gone on? You know, this has been dysfunctional since the outset, propped up by quantitative easing. Now everybody's at it, quantitative easing. But we have to start talking to other people, younger end, and, you know, whether they like it or they don't, they're going to have these sort of conversations in their life. The days of being able to be frivolous are over, really. But that doesn't mean to say you have to be miserable. It means you have to be balanced. And a balanced attitude is a healthy attitude. Knowing the information, sharing the information, but knowing full well that you still have a life, you still have to do things that you like, and you still have to find a path for you to live a good life. And you can still do that. Because what you'll find is, when bad people get too much power, they can't stay at the top. It doesn't work like that. It always fizzles out because they're more visible, especially with social media and with the internet. It's more visible. You can't hide your malfunctions. They're plain for all to see. And that's the bit that the political class and the media haven't cottoned on to yet. They haven't cottoned on to the fact that we see it all, we recognise it, and we have alternatives to find our information. We're not now reliant upon the mainstream media telling us what to think. We're thinking for ourselves, and they don't like it, do they? They really don't like it.